Sunday lunches were supposed to be a family tradition, a warm and comforting break in the middle of our busy lives. But for me, they had become an ordeal. I dreaded the sound of cutlery clinking on plates, the smell of roasted chicken drifting from the oven, and the polite laughter echoing around the table. Because every Sunday, like clockwork, my wife found a way to turn the spotlight on me, and not in a flattering way. That day was no different. We were gathered around the table, her parents, her aunt, her cousin Leah, and me. Emily, my wife, had on that bright smile she wore when she wanted to look like the perfect hostess. But the smile faded every time her eyes met mine, and instead she seemed to sharpen her words like knives meant only for me. "Michael still hasn't fixed the sink," she announced casually while passing the mashed potatoes. "It's been leaking for a week, but I guess he's too busy scrolling through his phone." Everyone chuckled politely except me. I forced a smile, stabbing at my plate, feeling the weight of every gaze that landed on me. Her father shook his head with an indulgent smile. "Come on, Mike. A leaky sink? That's an easy one." I nodded stiffly, swallowing back 1,000 retorts. This was her favorite sport, making me the clown in front of family. A few weeks ago, it had been my terrible sense of fashion. Before that, my inability to plan anything romantic. Each jab delivered with a laugh, as though it were harmless fun, but I could feel my dignity bleeding away. I told myself to breathe, to just get through it. But Emily wasn't done. "You know," she said sweetly, "Michael tried to cook once. Burned pasta. Who even burns pasta?" She tilted her head, flashing that smile at everyone else while I felt myself shrinking inside. Her cousin Leah, sitting across from me, didn't laugh. She just studied me quietly, her fork paused halfway to her lips. I noticed because she was the only one not feeding on the spectacle. I managed a weak laugh and excused myself for a moment, claiming I needed some water. In the kitchen, I leaned against the counter, gripping the edge, staring at my reflection in the microwave door. I hated how small I felt, how powerless. I wasn't angry yet, just hollow. When I returned, Emily was in full swing, now joking about how Michael's idea of fixing things is calling a handyman, because tools apparently scare him. Her mother laughed the loudest. I sat back down, feeling like a prop in her comedy routine. It was then that Leah's voice cut through the noise, calm, measured, but impossible to ignore. "Emily," she said, "don't you think you've said enough?" The table fell silent. Forks clinked against plates, eyes darted back and forth. Emily blinked, caught off guard. "What? I was just joking," she said with a nervous laugh. Leah didn't smile. She turned her gaze on me instead. "Michael, why don't we go upstairs? I'd like to show you something." My fork froze midair. The table went silent again, heavier this time. Emily's jaw tightened. Her parents shifted uncomfortably, and I felt my pulse quicken. Leah's expression was unreadable, but her tone carried something Emily's never did: respect. For the first time that day, I felt like someone had seen me. I hesitated, glancing around the table. Emily's eyes were wide, her smile plastered back on but stretched too tight, like she was trying to pretend nothing unusual had just happened. Her mother cleared her throat, trying to shift the mood, but Leah didn't waver. She simply stood, her chair scraping softly against the wooden floor, and waited. Something inside me stirred, an impulse I hadn't felt in months. I set my fork down, rose quietly, and followed Leah out of the dining room. The silence we left behind was deafening. Upstairs, Leah led me into the small study, closing the door behind us. For a moment, I stood there awkwardly, unsure of what was happening. Then she turned to me with an expression so steady it stopped me cold. "You don't deserve that," she said simply. I frowned. "What do you mean?" Her eyes softened. "The way she talks to you, the way she makes you the punchline every time. It's cruel, Michael. And I don't know why you let her do it." Her words landed like a blow. I wanted to argue, to defend Emily out of habit, but nothing came out. Instead, I felt the weight of years pressing down on me. The silent compromises, the swallowed pride, The quiet humiliations I told myself were just part of marriage. I don't know, I admitted, my voice low. Maybe because it's easier than fighting back. Leah stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. Easier for who? Certainly not for you. I sank into the chair by the desk, running a hand through my hair. For the first time in a long while, I felt exposed, not mocked, but seen. And it was terrifying. Leah leaned against the desk, folding her arms. You need to decide if this is the life you want. Because I promise you, no one deserves to be diminished like that. Not at a dinner table, not in their own home, not ever. Her words weren't flirtatious, not even suggestive. They were blunt, raw, and real, and that honesty struck deeper than anything Emily had ever said. We sat in silence for a while, the hum of the house below filling the space. Then Leah added quietly, I only said that, let's go upstairs, because I wanted to break the cycle. To show her she's not the only one who can command the room. A strange relief washed over me. She hadn't been trying to embarrass Emily or pull me into some scandal. She had simply stood up for me in a way I hadn't been able to stand up for myself. When we finally returned to the table, the atmosphere was icy. Emily's smile had vanished, her jaw clenched tight. Her parents avoided my eyes, pretending to focus on their plates. But Leah sat calmly, eating in silence, as though nothing unusual had happened. For the rest of that lunch, Emily said nothing more at my expense. And though the air was thick with tension, I felt a spark of something I hadn't in a long time, dignity. Later that night, lying awake beside Emily's cold silence, Leah's words echoed in my head. You need to decide if this is the life you want. For the first time, I realized I had a choice.